Okay, good evening, everyone. Nice to see you guys online. Just to confirm, can everyone hear me? Just with the thumbs up. Okay, I'm seeing a few thumbs up. Thank you, guys. And like I said earlier, please raise your hand, type in chat or in the Q&A if you have any questions regarding your assignments due in 3 days. Can you guys also, again, just confirm that you guys can see the pairs, the screen that I shared? Okay. I see a few thumbs up. So you can see that obviously the data has been moved into the 8th of May. If you guys already submitted, that's fine as well, because the date, I think it was like a day before that I realized that your dates were different to the dates of the BCom group. So I quickly asked and they said, yeah, no, you guys only have to submit on the 8th of May. So it gave you a bit of extra time. Not sure how happy or not you guys were about it. But I mean, at least you could go over it again, even if you were close to being done. Assignment 2 was very similar to Assignment 1. The only inclusion was Learning Unit 6 and Learning Unit 5. So there was a lot of marks that went to these two sections. If you guys can remember, Learning Unit 5 to do with corporate social responsibility, specifically governance, stakeholders, and triple bottom line. And then the introduction to general management was Learning Unit 6. Um, Different levels of management, the skills, and the various roles. The only weird thing, I think it was for this one, should have been for this one now, is please note that there's a difference between skills and roles. But if we look at your assignment briefly, and please, guys, let me know if you have any questions. Similar to your assignment 1, create a diagram illustrating the decision making in the entrepreneurial process with application to the scenario. There is a diagram in your textbook. Use that diagram as a guideline and then introduce, you can use canva.com or anything else. You can even use the a smart design or whatever on Word as well. That's not a bad idea because usually then fits kind of within Word. And similar to the advice I gave for assignment 1, your diagram can be relatively simple. Just reference it. So use the steps within the entrepreneurial process and have a short description for each step. And then below that, maybe in 2 paragraphs, you can just explain the entrepreneurial process. Hopefully that makes sense to you guys. And that's for 25 marks. If your diagram is not right, then you're not going to get your 25 marks. And if there's not extra information either within the diagram, or if you want to keep a diagram basic and include it in 2 paragraphs or whatever below the diagram, just make reference to the diagram, discuss the steps and state how it relates to the diagram, and then you'll get your marks. And obviously with at least your textbook reference, and each one of you, Camille, Mohammed, Enrico, Antiswa, Odette, James, Jeromia, Unta, and Tsegofatso. Each of you, just take note, you have to answer each question from your textbook. All the answers on your textbook, and then you add an additional credible source. I don't think it was much of an issue for you guys. The other online group that I do, it was a bit of an issue, and my on-campus group for some of the students, it was an issue, but I mean, there's 100 students in that class, so 120 students, so obviously there would have been a few that didn't get the message. Question 1.2, discuss the specific resources or factors of production required by the business as examples of the scenario. In your textbook, there are 4 factors of production, or as the textbook says, the resources that a business requires. And you need to mention those resources. I think your textbook only says 4. If you have to reference those resources from your textbook, and then you can include additional credible sources. And we look at the rubric now. Question 1.3, examine the importance or necessity of the business plans, ranking the ranking. So ranking means, can someone just tell me actually, who can tell me what ranking means? If I rank the reasons.
You're putting them in order of importance.
Thank you. You're putting them in order of importance. So whatever you think is the most important, you put it number one, and what the least important is, you put it last. Can someone tell me how many reasons are there in your textbook? Are there 5 reasons, or are there more reasons? Or are there less reasons maybe?
In the textbook, there's more than 5 reasons.
Thank you, James. There are more than 5 reasons. So can someone tell me how many reasons should you disclose in question 1.3? Only the 5 reasons or more than 5 reasons? Yeah, they did more, but I think that was in the previous one. But it's more. You have to do all. I think there's 8. I might be wrong, but all the reasons you rank them from 1 to whatever how many there is, 8, and then you have to have your textbook reference for the 8 reasons, and then an additional reference that supports each of the reasons. Question 1.4. Yes, you have your hand up.
I'm sorry, are all the reasons like 100% applicable to the scenario?
The reasons that you don't think are applicable make them reasons 7 and 8.
Okay, thank you.
And then you can even say why it's not applicable, maybe, or why it's not an objective that can be applied to this scenario or case study scenario. Question 1.4, explain the role of top management. Take note of this, guys. This way you have your hand up.
Yes, morning everyone. Afternoon everyone. Yeah, good evening. Sorry. I just wanted to ask if I've submitted already. Am I allowed to resubmit?
100%. You can resubmit as many times as you want. I'm only reading the last submission.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Explain the role of top management, but take note of this and the skills required at top management level with examples applicable to the scenario. Take note, guys, what I mentioned in the module outline. Describe the skills needed. Discuss the various roles of the managers. Here it asks, explain the role of top management. It doesn't ask what are the roles of top management, but it asks what the skills required at top management level with an example from applicable to the scenario. So if I go back to my module outline, my answers, are they going to be from Learning Unit 5, the skills needed, or are they going to be from Learning Unit 6, the various roles of managers? Will it be the skills or the roles of managers if you look at the phrasing of that question?
There's both. Explain the role of top management and the skills.
Not really. It's only one. There's my last piece of advice. It's not the roles of top management. It asks explain the role of top management. So it doesn't ask to explain. It actually asks to explain the skills required of top management. You guys catch my drift. It doesn't, just because the phrasing of the question is a bit odd, but it asks about the skills. It doesn't ask, it asks in general, like what's the role of top management, or what's the role of an owner, or what's the role of a manager. But then it asks the skills. It doesn't ask the roles. So, okay, I actually just gave it away, but it is what it is. So, skills. Question 1.5, reflect on the concept of sustainable development. with application to the scenario. So I don't think it's a very big section in your textbook, sustainable development. So if I could thumbs up this, I would guess it's in Learning Unit 5, because it also sustainable development is very closely related to uh, sustainability, corporate social responsibility, etc. Just take note that there is a difference between sustainable development and sustainability. Take note of that. If you give me the definition of sustainability and you don't explain what sustainable development is thereafter, then you will lose marks. Because sustainability and sustainable development is two different concepts. They're slightly different definitions or conceptualizations. So please take note of that. You have to specifically say what is meant by sustainable development. And in your textbook, it has a very clear conceptualization or definition thereof, an explanation of what sustainable development is. And then obviously you have to apply it to the scenario. And then a final one, using an industry of your own choice. Again, guys, industry. Can someone tell me, is Volkswagen an industry? Yes or no? Volkswagen. And you guys can just thumbs up for yes and do a hand clap for no and applause. Okay, I see 3 applause. The rest of you, 4 applause. Okay. It's almost half, I think. So it is not an industry. Another applause. Thank you, Enrico. It's not an industry. So if you talk about Eskom only, Volkswagen only, TFG or the Pashini Group only, that's not an industry. They are businesses within an industry. But you can talk about the electricity industry or the energy industry. You can talk about the motoring industry. You can talk about the clothing industry. And then you can make reference to businesses, not one business, businesses within that industry as a jumping off point. But obviously, you have to link it to the 4 components of the current macro environment in South Africa. And your textbook has multiple macro environment components, like, again, macro environment, guys. Actually, you guys list any 4 macro environment components in the chat. Macro environment. What are 4? I think there's in your textbook, there's 5. I think in a textbook. They claim there's 5. Some textbook says there's 6. And this one says political, yes, that's 1. Technological, thank you, Mohammed, it's 2. Economic and social, great, thank you guys, that's 4 already. So you can talk about any of those 4 based on an industry in South Africa. Okay, not any of those 4, all 4, or one of the other ones. What is the other one? Ecological. One of those 5. Link it to an industry in South Africa and have multiple references. What's interesting here is actually very easy to get very good marks here, because you can, let's say you pick the motoring industry in South Africa, you can talk about Volkswagen, you can talk about the political changes, even internationally with the tariffs from Trump, and that what happened on the impact of Volkswagen with the facility, not facility, it's a facility, but the manufacturing facility in Etenag or Kariga. You can talk about Chinese manufacturing companies, probably more assembling companies here in South Africa. You can talk about the Isuzu manufacturing company here in South Africa, also in PE, I believe, Port Elizabeth or Mabega. You can talk about, yeah, it's a bunch of stuff you can talk about, and you can reference it from a bunch of different articles in the motoring industry or the clothing industry with TFG that has been buying up, I don't know, 10, 20 stores in the past few years in South Africa, or the struggles of Woolworths with the buying and then the selling of David Jones, which is an Australian company, Truworths that's been struggling, Edgar's that's been struggling. Your TFG is actually doing well. Not be a bad investment. And yeah, I can talk about all the different businesses and link it to those four components, and that's an easy 17, 18, 19, 20 marks for you guys. And if you just look at your rubric, I think question 1 is the only question where they don't ask you to go beyond the textbook. I think this is the only one where your diagram actually needs to be a diagram. So if you look at your textbook, it's called the entrepreneurial process. So it needs to be a process, not a mind map. So for question 1.1, make sure that it's procedural, that it goes from one point to the next point. Otherwise, you're going to lose marks as well. And it should be visually engaging, creatively designed, colors, or whatever you want to be. Don't care too much about that as long as I can read it. Then for me, it's visually engaging and creative. You can, if you want to use images as well, you can use images. But please, the bulk of the marks aren't going to come from how pretty it is. It's going to come from um, what you actually stated out of the textbook over here and what you actually link, how you linked it to the scenario. And then question 1.2, you start seeing that each question requires multiple credible sources referenced. So obviously your additional sources with your prescribed textbook. Same here with question 1.3, textbook, other credible sources. Textbook and supplemented from other additional sources. Prescribed textbook supplemented with other additional sources. And then I believe this question 2, environment demand. All illustrates component detail. Mind integrates four components and demonstrating deep understanding of each component applied to context, location, and macro environments in Africa. So it doesn't actually say that you have to have additional credible source for question 2. However, I'm not sure how you are able to talk about any industry in South Africa if you don't find additional credible references. How can you find information about maybe the Trump tariffs and how they impact any industry in South Africa? How the Volkswagen facility or the Isuzu facility or the Fushini Group, Woolworths, Biba cars or whatever it might be, if you don't reference it. So references are required here anyway. And then find just again, guys, because it's very important. Please, 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 please answer all your questions from your textbook. Everything must originate from your textbook. And you have to conduct research beyond your textbook using credible sources, but you have to apply everything from your textbook. Please compare to the referencing rubric, obviously, but the rubric as well. Submit your assignment to turn it in. Okay, yeah, you guys just submit it on that link. And please disclose any AI use. And if you disclose AI use, I'll show you guys now how to share the link so I can access that link as well. But thank you for those who've been honest of using AI. Please, guys, I don't want to flag you. I had to flag 2 students with assignment 1, unfortunately, and luckily they had the opportunity to resubmit. But because this is assignment 2, I don't think our integrity officer will be as lenient if I flag you for plagiarism. But as a whole, as a group, the law students and the BCom group, it doesn't seem like a major issue. I don't believe most of you actually used AI, and those of you who use it actually disclose it as well. So thank you for that. Otherwise, guys, is there any other questions on the assignment? Otherwise, I'm going to move on and just do a basic overview of learning units, quickly learning units 7 to 10. And then in our final 2 collabs, we're going to focus on the exam and again going through learning units 7 to 10. And then I want obviously questions on the exam. We'll actually do and collab a quick recap also on all the learning units. just as an overview. Any final questions on the assignment? Can you clarify question 1.4? Mohammed, there's the clarification. It's the skills. The textbook, there are certain skills that a top manager requires, or well, that all levels of managers require. Some skills are just more important for top managers as opposed to lower level managers or employees. But it asks you to explain the role of top management. It doesn't ask you to explain the roles as per your textbook of top management. So you have to focus on the skills part. You don't even have to mention, if you go back to the module outline, you don't even have to mention uh, discussing the various roles of managers. Learning Unit 5 describes the skills needed at the different levels of managers. That is what you need to actually answer. The skills, not the roles. Because it doesn't ask for the roles. It asks what is the role of top management. If that makes sense. Is that clarified enough for you? Clear enough for you? Clarified enough. No, it asks what is the role of top management. It doesn't ask the roles. It asks what are the skills of top management. Any other questions, guys? Okay, I'm going to share the slides so long. Please let me know if you guys see the slides. Just with the thumbs up is fine. Okay, I see one thumbs up. Okay, I see another thumbs up. Okay, great, thank you. And we'll start going through it now, but just in the interim, I just want you guys to go through figure 6.1. Okay, guys, so learning units 7, 8, 9, and 10 are planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. As compared to learning units 1 to 6, maybe except for one, learning units chapters 2 to 6, these learning units are quite small. The chapters are a bit smaller than maybe the other chapters, but it's still going to take some time to go through them because learning units 7 to 10 would be the bulk of your I'm guessing the bulk of your exam. Okay, so the main goal is you should see the managerial functions as a whole from, if you go back from planning to control, and you should be able to apply it to a business or either case study or business that you know of when writing the exam, or yeah, just the business that they mention, or even a fictional business if you want to do so. So if you start off with learning unit 7, steps in the planning process. Establish goals, develop alternative plans, evaluate the alternative plans, select a plan, implement the plan, and then perform reactive planning if necessary. So firstly, maybe you are a business that um, sells tutoring services to primary school children. That's the part of the goals of your business. And you establish the goals and then you develop a plan out of these goals and how you're going to offer the product to these primary school kids, and obviously the parents who are going to pay for them or the legal guardians. But as part of this process, sorry, you should develop alternative plans as part of this process. So what does that mean? It means that maybe you said that you are going to offer the tutoring services at your house. So the parents drop the kids off, you do the tutoring, and then they can pick them up. As an alternative, you could maybe go to their house for an extra fee, or you could get an office space or a room or whatever it might be and do the tutoring there. Or alternatively, you could do the tutoring at the school of the child after school. So these are could be all alternative plans. You evaluate each plan and you select the best plan, either the plan that you originally have or one of the alternatives. You implement the plan and then you do reactive planning. And a very important part of planning is obviously you have to gain as much information as possible so you can apply it accurately. But secondly, you should react relatively quickly. You should do it timeously because they'll not take too long and um, spend too much time on gathering too much information. You should focus on the implementation thereof as opposed to spending most of your time planning. So, for example, Orion Minerals. Orion Minerals is a relatively small mine in South Africa. They are actually a Australian company. Their mission is future-facing metals, where they want to mine specifically metals that they believe that um, is needed in the world, South Africa and the world. Um, Currently, they have underexplored mines. They are developing futuristic mines. They have 3 key projects that they're covering, including the Prisca project. But all of these projects, all of these mines that they want to open is close to the northern Northwest Cape, targeting net zero, or Northern Cape and Northwest, targeting net zero. So obviously, this is kind of like a very popular term these days. Well, the past few decades, maybe the past decade, net zero. Net zero is kind of like they don't want to basically have any emissions, or their net emissions is zero. So everything bad they emit is mitigated by everything good that they've been doing, which kind of aligns to the ESG standards, which they say they have exemplary ESG standards. ESG, which is environment, social, and governance, I believe, standards, closely linked to corporate social responsibility, which is more of a popular term here in South Africa. They say they want to link to those standards so that the mine is a net positive to society. It's kind of something that Sassel has been going or mentioning the past few years as well. Listing the steps in the planning process in the right order. So you guys are here now. So quickly list the 6 steps that we went through now in the correct order. Let's see who can list it first. And you can just do the numbers. So if you think number 3, selecting a plan, is number 1, type in 3 and then maybe 6, 5, 2, 1. You don't have to type in the entire thing. Just do the numbering in order. Or maybe 5, 3, 1, 4, 2, 6. Let's see who can get it first. And no cheating. Don't look at the textbook. What's the correct listing, guys? What's the first step? What number is step 1 of the planning process? James says 5. Okay, what's the second one? Okay, we have 5, 3, 6, 2, 1, 4. 5, 3, 6, 2, 1, 4. Not far off. You're close, but it's not completely correct on this one. 5 is the first one. I think you just need to make an adjustment from there. That's the second one. So first one is establishing goals, and then first I need to establish goals and to state what I actually want to achieve with this business. So if I'm like a tutoring service, what I want to do, maybe the main thing, my main purpose of my business is I want to offer education to primary school children, because I feel that primary school children might be going to high school not prepared, not reading well enough, not understanding math well enough, or not being able to speak their second language well enough or write well enough in their second language. So I want to assist with that. That might be part of my goals. So I need to state how I could achieve my goals and what alternate ways there are to achieve my goals. So what's the second step if 5 is the first step? And thank you for trying on this one. What would be the alternate to after I establish my goals?
Is it not to developing alternative plans?
Yes, thank you, Andiswa. So it's 5-2. After I develop alternative plans, what do I do with those alternative plans? 5-4.
Is it not evaluating those alternative plans?
Yes, thank you. It's evaluating those alternative plans. 5-4-3-6-1. Yes, thank you. That is the correct order. So it's firstly establishing goals, developing alternative plans, evaluating those alternative plans, selecting the best plan, implementing the best plan, and then performing reactive planning. Thank you, Umta. And just quickly, the benefits of planning. Planning provides direction, obviously, and you should always plan, especially if you guys go to your second, third, and fourth year, and you guys obviously don't have weekly lectures like on-campus students have, especially for you guys doing LLB, but for BCom students as well. Planning before your lectures is always good. Not only does it show good discipline, good diligence, and good, I mean, just thinking, because you can prepare well for what you do and ask relevant questions, but it shows that you actually care as well. Not only care about your lecturer, which isn't the most important thing, you care about yourself and how well you could do and what you could achieve. So planning is always good and something that you definitely can take preparing well into your future career. Even if someone like Alex or Moses always says that if you didn't have time to prepare and you have a meeting, just ask the person that does the meeting, and it's maybe an important meeting with yourself. Can I just have 5 minutes? And in that 5 minutes, you quickly prepare, you quickly go through what you need to go through so that you're rather prepared for the meeting as opposed to not knowing what's going on in the meeting. Rather 5 minutes late by telling them you're going to be 5 minutes late as opposed to um, not knowing what's going on in the meeting. Obviously, in business, that's very important. If you need to kind of like negotiate the deal and don't have the right information, then it's going to cost you a lot of money, most likely. You might get a bad deal. Planning promotes coordination, ensures cohesion, reduces the impact of change, and planning facilitates control. So just again, guys, if you think a few years back, the businesses that most likely did the best during COVID-19, the lockdowns, were the businesses that had action plans for a situation similar to that. Now, I doubted heavily that any South African business truly thought and prepared for a COVID-19 pandemic with the subsequent lockdowns. But if they maybe had a disaster management plan or risk management plan for high risk situations, they would have been better prepared in that situation. However, planning may create rigidity. If you plan too much and there's too much emphasis on planning, you might be more rigid in the way you plan or the way you implement plans or the way you do things, maybe your rules, as opposed to being more creative and fluent. Formal plans might replace intuition and creativity. Yes, planning, preparing is very good, and sometimes planning and preparing sets up you to be creative, but sometimes it could mitigate creativity and it could be forced to, nah, but I do things my way and I'm going to only do it like this, as opposed to where your friend might be less planning orientated, a planner or prepared for meetings or whatever it might be, but they're very creative. They think out of the box. They have a lot of ideas, whatever it might be. Planning consumes management's time as well. That's what I said earlier as well. Don't spend too much time planning. Set a good baseline, strong plan that you can develop, and then build out of that. Try and make decisions as quickly as possible. And it can also cause delays in decision making as well, similar to point three. It could take too much time to make a decision, where sometimes the quicker you can actually make a decision based on good preparation and planning, um, the better it could be. Because let's say I have a plan that I want to implement, or an idea that I want to implement, but it takes a lot of resources. It could be costly if I don't implement the plan, or I could lose out on money that I can gain if I didn't implement the plan earlier, or more importantly, if I implement the plan and it doesn't work, then I can quickly change to a new plan, as opposed to my competitor who has maybe the same plan but hasn't even implemented the plan yet, and I already implemented, he's going to fail and implemented a new plan that actually works. If you guys can understand what I'm saying. And that's why alternative plans are very important as well. Now, because I have my main plan and a bunch of alternatives, I see the main plan doesn't work, so I'm just gonna pop by and do the alternative plan. Maybe my tutoring services at my house, it's too disruptive to my family, my wife or my children or whatever it might be. So I say, okay, I'm gonna just change it. I'm gonna go to the people and do my tutoring at the residence or at the school of the people, not to disrupt my family life. Manages goals and plans. The natures of goal, the nature of goals. Start planning with goals linked to the mission, so the main purpose or the main goal of the business. Goals vary by focus. For example, goals can be short-term goals, medium-term goals, or long-term goals, or short-term goals. Maybe what I'm going to do today, this week, this month, this quarter, or this year. Medium-term goals, what I'm going to do next year, in 2 years' time, 3 years' time. Long-term goals, what I'm going to do in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years' time. Public and private goals. Public goals are those goals that you would find in these annual integrated reports, where the Fushini Group, Woolworths, or whoever it might be, might share the goals that they have, but they also might have private goals that are unwilling to share with the public. So private goals like maybe the development of a new motor vehicle or the development of a new way of um, attaining consumers that they don't want maybe the competitors to know about. And obviously it guides organizational direction. And the importance of goals, it directs employees and assists in developing smart goals, is the link between goal and actual rewards. So it kind of facilitates effective planning and the actual control over resources. It assists in that way as well. Sorry for going a bit quick, but I want to cover as much as possible. And if you guys have any questions, please let me know. This doing a SWOT analysis for Ryan Minerals. So Ryan Minerals, there's global mineral shortages. So global mineral shortage, that could be an opportunity for Orion Minerals, and they can set out a plan and organize their business around extracting the maybe in areas where the minerals are needed. Maybe it's platinum that the world requires now. There's platinum shortages, and they can focus on that area of mining so they can get more platinum and they can sell it at a premium price. Redeveloping closed mines. So that's actually the three projects that they do. It's not new mines that they're developing, it's existing mines that are opening up again that was closed, I believe, in the 1990s because mineral prices were very low at the time. It's based on existing infrastructure. The first sale is actually expected this year. That's what they predicted last year. And they have obvious labor and funding challenges. It's obviously South Africa, with the labor challenges. In terms of funding challenges, they're still a relatively small mining group, so they would have funding challenges, and they're not actually profitable yet. So that makes investors very skeptical. They obviously need to focus on community mining. The mining mafia is also obviously a concern here in South Africa. The mining mafia has become very popular in news articles the past few years. And what's the other mafia that we say we have? Oh, the construction mafia. Yes, but remember, they're a mining business. So for them, it's kind of like an opportunity. I'm not sure if I'm understanding it correctly, because if there's mineral shortages, they can go and extract those minerals to sell. And if there's a shortage because of a lack of supply, if you think economically now, um, if there's not enough supply, but there's still either the same amount of demand or more demand, do you think the price is going to go up or down? So let's say I have up here. So yeah, if I have 10 people who want to buy a gold bar, but I only have 5 gold bars, I can play it off from each other. So I don't know actually what a gold bar is these days. They usually do it in ounces. Um, and last I checked, well, an ounce was a few $1,000s. I think it was around $3,000, but I might be incorrect. So let's say around 40,000 Rand. Um, I can maybe, if I have 10 buyers, I have 5 gold bars, and I'm guessing a gold bar would be a few million. I can say, okay, I'll give it to you, each of you for 5 million. And the other guy says, I still have 7 people wanting to buy it for 5 million. And I said, okay, who's willing to pay 10 million for it? Or whatever it might be. So yes, economic stuff like that and negotiations linked to that as well. Yes, definitely. Especially if you're the person selling it. The thing that's required. What's there's a other thing that's quite popular. Yes, your hand is up. You can ask a question.
Oh, sorry, that was a mistake.
Okay, no problem. And then planning for Ryan, external analysis. So they'll keep in Prisca mines as well, or projects. They identified that they have to engage with their community, and it's very important in South Africa as well. Just for example, my brother was in the construction industry in South Africa. He's overseas now. He did construction there in the Western Cape, on the highway. He was not a project manager, a quantity surveyor there, and he said he had a lot of problems in one area that they built because the community was unwilling to uh, work for the company, and they had to have a certain number of people from that community to work for the company as per the agreement with the state, not the state, the local government. Um, sorry, the local municipality. That's the thing, the local municipality. But the people, they were unwilling to take the jobs for the pay, I'm guessing, for that, being a laborer for a construction company. And on the flip side, the people that they then brought in to work there got assaulted by the locals there. So there's that thing as well, and that happens across South Africa as well. Certain areas of South Africa, I read a journal article earlier this or last month, and it said that part of the problem of our unemployment rate is um, some people in South Africa aren't willing to work for say minimum wage or just above minimum wage. And even that, this person in the study conducted interviews with people, I think they're also in the Northern Cape. And they said the one person was a security guard at 5 different businesses over 3 years. And she asked him, well, why do you keep jumping from place to place? And he said, well, that manager wasn't nice, that pay wasn't enough, um, that the people he worked with, that other one wasn't good enough and stuff like that. So it's kind of this, oh, and the population of the study, all of the people were in poverty, but they were also unemployed. So that's why the study was conducted. They wanted to know the reasoning behind, um, or not the reasoning why they struggle to find work or stick with work. And you have, unfortunately, people in South Africa that are in like a catch-22 where they don't want to do certain type of work, but they still need to do work to get out of poverty and things like that. So there's a lot of that's why community engagement is very important in doing it correctly, and why it's very difficult to engage with the community and manage the population. Manage the population. Manage it, not manage the community. Engage properly as stakeholder engagement of the community. And something like the mining mafia in South Africa, which we're not going to go into, but there's a lot of articles online about that as well. They obviously also did a feasibility study. They did trial mining. They have an early production plan, and their onboarding of skilled operating team is also required. Luckily, I don't think they will have an issue in South Africa with finding skilled operators. We have had mines in South Africa for probably over a century now. Well, we've been mining in South Africa for quite a few, more than a century now. But companies and stuff has only been established probably the past 150 years. So I think like something like Sabine Stillwater is very old. Um, but you would get skilled employees in South Africa, and luckily for them. Opportunities, they have historical infrastructure they can still use, historical proof of mining that they know there are actually minerals in there. They're not just sure how much. The demand for worldwide metals, for example, a considerable copper market. And then the way they develop goals is through the SMART criteria being specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound. I'm not going to ask you guys to develop a goal now, but for example, we should have one operational mine that produces metals for sale by the end of the current financial year. That's quite specific. It is a relatively short-term goal. It says by this financial year, it says it should be an operational mine, so it's relatively specific. It says being able to produce metals to sell. So it's again, it's very specific. It is attainable because they've done the trial mining and it is measurable. If they can measure it through saying that is the mine operational and can they sell the minerals that come out of the mine? And it's obviously relevant as well as linked to their business. Hopefully that makes sense. Again, steps in the planning process, similar to them, they have a certain sales target. They have 3 different projects in South Africa as alternative plans. They're doing continuous assessment of the actual projects. Is all 3 projects viable or feasible, or should they only pick the best one? That's something they need to decide. They use trial mining to implement the plan or to start off the implementation of the plan. And based on the outcomes of the trial mining, they would either maybe do all 3 projects and mine on all 3 sites in South Africa, or they might mine in only in one place in South Africa. One of the projects, or maybe even 2 of the projects. Okay, 10 minutes. Okay, I'm not going to show you guys that video. Okay, just going back to organizing, the reasons for organizing, analysis of work and resource allocation. So, for example, what skills do I need at Orion? Allocating the task, who needs to do what, being productive as well. If everyone knows what to do, what our goals are, and how to do it, and obviously we can be set up to be productive. Skilled employees do their work. So the more skilled an employee is, the better they know how to do their work. And organizational harmony and congruency. Everyone knows how to do it, when to do it. That's the reasons for actually organizing your business. And the reasons for Orion, for example, the feasibility studies and the development thereof, part of the feasibility studies, the development of the mine. They set out defined roles and they also contract tasks as well. So some tasks that they don't want to do internally, they outsource. They focus on efficient output. They have experts in defined roles because obviously in mining you need certain types of engineers, experts and stuff in different areas of your business. ESG, the organizational harmony and congruency, they use the ESG goals or framework. They engage with the community, and they also have a regional focus. So just for example, if I try to answer the question posed above in that heading, select one reason for organizing and relate it to the case study, and you read through that. Out of the textbook, it says an organization must start with identifying the type of work required to achieve organizational goals. A bankable feasibility studies that Iran conducted involves a detailed analysis of the work required and the allocation of resources needed for the project development and operations. So you can see that I've referenced Iran Minerals annual integrated report there. And in the next paragraph as well, I'll continue. I start with my textbook and then I'll reference my additional credible source. Hopefully this helps you guys. But just furthermore, you can see that the thing that I highlighted in blue or turquoise, identifying the type of work. From my textbook, I link it to the work required that Ryan Minerals said. And then my next paragraph, I can say if this work is identified. And then if you look at the green highlighted, talk about organizational goals. And then I talk about the organizational goals again in paragraph 2. And then I link it to strategy again. I use the same words or similar words to try and link what is said in the textbook to what is said in my additional credible source or sources. So that's a very basic example. So this paragraph or two small paragraphs here, this might be like 5 marks. Just because it's not a lot of maybe words and I don't explain quite a lot. It's just very basic explanation of one of the reasons for organizing. Does this make sense, guys? Very basic. If you quickly look at, thank you for the thumbs up on this one. Looking at the fundamentals of organizing the five building blocks, this is also very important, guys. For this chapter, for chapter 8, these 5 building blocks and these reasons, also 5, right? Yeah, 5 reasons you guys need to know for your exam. Obviously, they might ask something else out of the organizing textbook, but they like asking especially these 5 building blocks. So please take note of it. They expand in your textbook as well on the design of jobs, the grouping of jobs or departmentalization, the establishing of reporting relationships and authority relationships and coordinating activities. So please, guys, take note of this to study for your exam. So looking at the 5 building blocks, designing job departmentalization, reporting relationships, designing of jobs, Orion defined roles and they found contractors. Departmentalization, they have functional and project groups. So they have functional groups based on the different business functions or departments, and they have project groups. So they probably have project groups for the Pisca project and for the 2 other projects as well. Reporting relationships, for example, they have a board and a managerial hierarchy. Authority relationship, the board and maybe the regulatory authorities as well, or even like authority relationships in terms of um, if I have a marketing manager and I have a head of engineering. If we talk about the operational side of things, my head of engineering is going to have authority over my marketing manager. But my marketing manager, if they actually need to go and sell the products, might have an authoritative relationship over the operational manager. So that's where authoritative relationship might come in comparison to reporting relationship, where the engineering director might report to the same guy, which is maybe the CEO. So they're basically on the same level, but authoritatively it depends on what the actual task is that's required, and then obviously the ability to coordinate with each other. And again, just an example, I have my textbook reference, and within the same paragraph, I immediately link it to my credible source. So just highlighted there. The yellow is the textbook and the green is my additional credible source. And especially for question 2, guys, it's never bad to go to the uh, actual integrated reports of a local company. So let's say pick the clothing industry, you can go and download Woolworths, Truworths, and TFG's annual integrated report, and you can compare them with each other and or see what they say about the clothing industry, because they're obviously going to talk about the clothing industry in South Africa or how they fit in competitively against the other businesses, for example. Okay, 3 minutes. Okay, there's a bunch of true and false questions. I'll share this slides online. I wanted to watch this video from Simon Senik. You guys can watch it on your own time. And the components of the leading function: authority, power, responsibility, delegation. Yeah, guys, I think I'll make a video and share the video next week to go through the rest of the slides. I don't think I've talked probably a bit too much now. Is there any questions you guys have on learning in the 7 to 10, or if you have a question on the assignment? Yes, Andiswa?
I think I saw that it's going to be a closed book exam or unseen exam. So that means we're not going to be able to use the textbook. Are we expected then to reference?
No, no, no. For closed book, you don't have to reference.
Okay, thank you.
Pleasure. No, it's going to waste unnecessary time. And tests or exams are more there for you for to what do you call it, to not repeat information, retrieve information, which is a very important skill for you guys. And I actually read an article today uh, where they explain why the importance of retrieving information. They say that people remember stuff much better if they actually wrote a test or exam about it long term. That's actually what I wanted to go through. For AI disclosure, right? Today, actually, I posed this question added to the slide. What does it mean when a lecturer at the IE's Varsity College says I need to disclose AI? Which is not quite, I think it's kind of inception, an inception. I'm not using that correctly. Oh, sorry, Muhammad, I'm quickly going to ask you a question. Will there be a scope for the exams? Um, I'll have to confirm that, but I believe there would be a scope that's going to be released under student material. I'll keep an eye out as well and let you guys know. But otherwise, you guys can also just keep an eye out. Okay, so I'll ask this for the AI, and it actually gave a very good explanation. I think it's scoured the Varsity College website. When a lecturer at the IS Varsity College asks you to disclose AI use, the requirement is to acknowledge that you used artificial intelligence like ChatGPT, Grammarly, etc. Explain how you use the tool like brainstorming, grammar checking, summarizing, or generating content, ensure academic honesty by making it clear what parts of the submission, etc. It actually gives a very good answer. And it actually asked me, would you like a sample of the disclosure statement to include in your assignment? And it actually gave me most of what is required, but then I want to quickly ask you guys, and you guys need to answer me, what is missing on the AI disclosure statement below? What do I need to add in the AI disclosure statement? There is something missing. That says I have to use ChatGPT by OpenAI. The purpose thereof is to assist with the idea generation, drafting of initial content. So it's not really what I used it now for. I actually used it to ask it how to disclose AI use, which is kind of where there's an inception here. And all generated content reviewed it and supplement to the original thought. Okay. So the thing missing, because we are over time, is that, and that is why, okay, where am I now? Yeah, that is why AI is never and never will be perfect. AI usually either misconstrues something because it's or a secondary, sometimes a tertiary source of information. Not a credible source, by the way, if you reference AI. But what's missing is the actual link. And where you get the actual link for your discussion that you had with the AI that you need to add in your lecture is you need to click for ChatGPT now, you need to click on share and then actually create the link. And this link is add a link where I can actually access um, your information. If you use Copilot or Gemini, whatever it might be, uh, please don't copy the address line, copy the share the link to the actual chat that you had with the AI. But otherwise, guys, you're more than welcome to use AI. Just use it ethically. Don't make sure it doesn't replace your thinking because I want you to become smarter. Otherwise, uh, I'll stay on if there's any more questions. Otherwise, thank you for joining us. Have a lovely week. Good luck with your assignment. Please email me if you have any questions on the assignment. I hope we do as well as we did earlier, or with assignment one. Actually, I want us to do better. So let's aim and do better. And I'll see you guys soon in 2 weeks time. But I'll stay on if there's any more questions. Yes, and this one.